My name is Hadrian Pollard, and I am a teacher and currently a PhD student in education and an aspiring writer who lives in North Carolina. So this is the first book I've ever written. It's called The Water Dancer. It's a fantasy novel, and the gist of it is I love fantasy. I'm a big fan of fantasy. What I love about it in particular is the fact that you can take an idea or a concept that has a lot of history and baggage around it, like of something that's very real, and put it into this fantasy context. And in a way, you kind of shed light on something in a way that's relatable to a lot of different people because they don't have to sift through all of the baggage and history that they're used to seeing. So what I wanted to do was explore the idea of faith, of ethnic conflict, of radicalization, these things that I've explored a lot in my studies and through my relationships and in living in the Middle East. And that's what inspired this book. I consider this book a draft. If you would like to purchase it and read it, that's great, good for you. But I do intend to rewrite it at some point. But a part of the book that I'm very proud of is the poetry. So every chapter in this book begins with an epigraph, and that epigraph comes from a constructed religion that I created for this world. And what that does is gives an insight into some sort of spiritual reality that I've experienced. I would say if there's a part of this book that I feel was the most received, I would say it was this poetry, because when I sat down to write these poems, they weren't outlined and drafted and created. I just had a blank page and I had this poem to write that was to introduce this story that I was going to tell. And so what it is something that connects to something that I feel like is true for me. And it helps introduce each of these chapters and set the stage for what's going to happen later in the story. About halfway through the book, I switch between the verses that come directly from scripture that the main character, from the religion that the main character practices, to verses that come from an anthology of poetry written by this spiritual person that's kind of detached a bit from religion. So part of the journey of the character in this story is her relationship with faith and with religion, and it's challenged throughout the story. So this is written by that poet called the poet Vin. Many concern themselves with the center. Scholars try to breathe its words, while artists try to paint its colors. If it is a place none shall ever see, then it is a sound unheard, a color unknown. I sit beside the black river and watch the hornbeams grow slender and curved along the banks. I watch the lantern flies illuminate the forest around me. I hear the call of the red wolf greeting the night. The world sings me a tune I know. I listen to this sound. This is my one truth. It is my center. Let the center unknown remain as such, for the unknown saves our mystery, humility, and marvel. I am going to be reading a handful, you can see I marked them with my sticky notes. I'll be reading a handful of poems from this book and then answering questions during my Zoomuse performance, I suppose. And it's going to take place on December 4th in 1 week from now as I'm recording, Friday, December 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in North America. So of course it will be happening according to your time zone. Please look it up, but 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there.